I had several community members reach out and wanted me to film a quick overview about who we are, what we do, and if this is your first time kind of checking us out, maybe how you guys could benefit financially by helping our blockchain community grow. I'm fairly new to the blockchain space. I'd say a little over 2 years. I got involved in blockchain technology. Cryptocurrency I've been involved in for quite some time. Really, 2010, I read the Bitcoin white paper. I'm not that tech savvy, but I guess I got a CNET tech blog that emailed me, and I like the concept, the limited supply. My degree was in finance and economics, and so I just thought, hey, what a cool concept. And that was about it. 2013, some of our companies, we actually started buying Bitcoin, and again, just thought it would go up in value. I guess we ended up being right, and we've consistently been buying ever since then. Never really sold any, but one of these days, maybe we will. Got into crypto trading back in 2017. A friend of mine started a crypto trading platform and reached out to me. And 2017 was a great year to do crypto trading. You could throw a dart at any cryptocurrency. It seemed like it was on its way up. And so the software did extremely well. And I remember it was 2018. My buddy reached out to me and he was like, hey, Tony, you've got to buy nodes for this project called Gala Games. And not being that tech savvy, I remember saying, what the heck's a node? I had no idea. And he said, well, it's software and you download it to your computer and this blockchain community will pay you to borrow your computer power. And I was like, well, how much do they pay you? And this was back in 2018. He goes, well, they give you Gala tokens. And I said, well, how much is a Gala token worth? And he said, well, right now, nothing. And I remember thinking, I was like, well, this sounds amazing. You're going to borrow my computer and pay me with magic internet money that's not worth anything. I said, it sounds amazing for them, but not so great for me. And he said, well, it's not worth anything now. But if people start playing these games and they use this token to buy farms or dragons between each player, whatever, it could be worth a lot. It's a long story. The short version, I ended up buying $10,000 worth of these Gala Games nodes. And for about 2 years, nothing really happened. They were building and developing, and I don't know if you ever dealt with software, but it was way behind schedule. And people were upset. And I remember my buddy just refunded everyone that had bought nodes through him. And I messaged him. I said, listen, I don't really need the money back. I know they're working on it. And I actually said, it's probably not going to work out anyways, but I was just going to kind of roll the dice on this one. And he said, Tony, it's easier for me to basically refund everybody with a full kind of one single refund push. If you really want these nodes, call me in a couple weeks and we can redo the transaction. And I was like, yeah, I'll call you back. And my background is not really in crypto. I'm a traditional entrepreneur. I've built over 50 companies. At that time, we had an Inc. 500 company in the restaurant delivery space, kind of like an Uber Eats or a DoorDash. It was called MyTown To Go, MyTown, the number 2 Go. We actually merged. We're with Delivery.com now. But at that time, we were looking to merge, and it was a really good deal. Delivery.com is owned by Cantor Fitzgerald. We were in talks with Uber, DoorDash, a lot of the big providers. We were about the 3rd fastest growing restaurant delivery service in the world at that time, millions of deliveries. We were around 300 cities across 3 different countries. And I remember I just was focused on trying to get that deal done and never thought to call my buddy back about, I'm not a gamer. I wasn't going to be playing games on my phone. So I forgot. Another probably year and a half went by. And I saw my friend start posting about Gala Games on his Facebook page. And I remember I messaged him. I'm like, hey, what's going on with this Gala Games thing? And he's like, bro, he goes, we got to get on a Zoom. And so he sent me a link to his Zoom and we hop in and he was like, bro, he goes, there's millions of people playing these games. I was like, really? And he goes, yeah, I bought a bunch of nodes and the nodes just basically they give you tokens. They're borrowing my computer power and I've been getting tokens for a long time. And I started selling them over the last few months. And I said, well, how much have you sold? And he said, a little over $40 million worth. And I was like, no way. And he started showing me his trades, and I started doing the math, and I was like, holy cow. I was like, you sold over $40 million. And our buddy Wright, I was like, how much has Wright made? He had actually helped start the project. It was kind of his vision. And he said, a little over $4.3 billion. And then I asked him probably what I shouldn't have. I said, listen, if I would have called you back and bought the $10,000 worth of nodes, like, how many tokens would I have right now? He started doing the math. He goes, if you sold them all today, it would be worth a little over $11 million. And I was just like baffled. I remember I started checking on that token, that coin, on like Coin Market Cap. It was having days where its trading volume was like $4 to $5 billion a day. And I was just thinking to myself, man, I don't know what I was doing that I was that busy that I couldn't call my friend back and redo the purchase that I wanted to do. I just forgot about it. But, you know, I chalked it up as a missed opportunity. It unfortunately wasn't the first one, and probably more unfortunately it won't be the last one that I missed. I'm sure all of us have had times where we were at the right place at the right time. Maybe we didn't realize it, or, you know, maybe we did kind of realize it, but we didn't take action. We didn't do what we needed to do to take advantage of the timing we were in. And that was life. I built several other companies. We've been very blessed over the last 5 years. We've had a few companies do over $1 billion in revenue. Our biggest company, we have an accounting firm called Jorns and Associates. It's one of the largest tax credit accounting firms on the planet, and did a little over $10 billion in tax credit filings for our clients, over $2 billion in profit. And I was just focused on building my traditional companies. And actually, my buddy reached out to me in October of 2023, the one that had told me about the Gala Games project, the gentleman that had made over $4 billion. They got on the phone with me and were like, hey, we want you to come meet with us and help us with our blockchain projects. And I was like, guys, I'm really busy. Like we had just gotten over like 1,000 employees and contractors helping out with our accounting firm. And it was keeping me really busy. And I was in LA for meetings. I was flying back. I lived in Kansas at that time. I guess I still have we've got a place there still. But most of the year I'm in Puerto Rico. If you hear the whistling, it's the Coqui frog here in Dorado Beach. So apologies if the background noise is a little loud. But I was like, I'm flying back to Kansas tomorrow. And they said, can you stop in Vegas for a day? And I was like, listen, I'm really busy. But I had watched them in 2021, their project hit a little over a $40 billion market cap. There were days where its market cap was higher than Tesla's in 2021. So I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm also an admirer of extremely successful entrepreneurs. So I was like, listen, boys, you've built, it was the most successful cryptocurrency during the last bull run in 2021. And I was like, I'll meet with you for a day for sure. And I remember they shared several projects. And what I loved about their community, the blockchain community, there were two things they really focused on. Number one, how do you make blockchain easy to use? Because it's not easy to use. Grandma and grandpa are not going to download a MetaMask wallet and start bridging tokens to ERC20 anytime soon. And so they figured out kind of what the early internet entrepreneurs figured out. How do we make this easy for everyone to use? A lot of people don't realize, but like internet protocol, they started working on that in the 70s. It was really around 1983. You had the launch of IP, TCP, like internet protocol coding. And it wasn't until you had 94, 95, 96, you started to see, Hotmail, Amazon showed up, Google started showing up, and these entrepreneurs made it easy to use the internet. Because prior to them showing up, it was really just the military, IBM, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. There were some high-tech individuals, really smart people using the internet, but it was difficult. It was complex. And then entrepreneurs came in and made it easier and easier and easier. Then you had 2007, the launch of the iPhone, and all of a sudden the internet was in the palm of all of our hands, and Android followed soon after. And so the blockchain space hasn't gone through that yet, but it's starting to. Entrepreneurs are starting to come into the space and looking at ways to make it easy for everyone to participate in blockchain technology. The second thing this community focused on was tying revenue into the blockchain. And that's never really been done at scale. And there's nothing right or wrong about, speculative value. That's, Bitcoin has always been kind of a subjective value. Like, there's no revenue running through Bitcoin. Bitcoin's worth whatever it's worth because the market says that's what it's worth. Now, I think it should be at over 1.2 million a coin, give or take. That's why I've never sold any Bitcoin from any of our companies, but I might be wrong. Michael Saylor at MicroStrategies thinks it could be 18 million a coin. I think he said at one time. Warren Buffett, pretty smart guy, thinks it should be worth zero. And somebody's right, probably somewhere in between. Hopefully, it's closer to Michael Saylor than Warren Buffett. But we're all guessing. It's our opinion. That's really the valuation of pretty much all cryptocurrencies. But if you look at companies that drive revenue, it's no longer subjective how valuable their company is. Someone like Apple, you don't have to have an opinion on what they're worth, right? Like, you can look at their revenue, you can look at their expenses. I know in 2024, their operating gross profit was like $180 billion, a little over $180 billion. So that's no longer subjective. Like, that's just math. The reason they're valuable is because you can look at the data. And that's why Warren Buffett, it's not that he doesn't hate Bitcoin because it's a cryptocurrency. I think he doesn't like any really highly speculative investment. He's a value investor. He doesn't like highly speculative real estate. He doesn't really like the oil ETFs and things like that. He invests in value-based companies. And so when I looked at their blockchain projects, they had some amazing projects. I remember sitting down with the CEO of their banking blockchain, a lady named Kathy Roberts. I knew who she was. We have a pretty big credit card processing company. That's one of our companies. And she was one of the original founders of Discover Card. And she was the first president of Discover Bank. And I remember talking with her, and I was so surprised because banking and blockchain were like oil and water, especially back in 2023. And I just said, I'm surprised to see a banker like you so involved in blockchain. And she said, listen, Tony, I truly believe that within the next 5 to 10 years, blockchain technology will make everyone on planet Earth bankable. And she shared with me why she believed that. And this was October of 23 when I kind of went to meet with those guys. And I remember after a little while, I was like, she's right. And as an entrepreneur, I spent the next couple of months digging in, figuring out how can I position myself and others that I care about to take advantage. I remember reading an article from the World Economic Forum. And in 2021, they estimated blockchain technology would disrupt up to $867 trillion in traditional markets. That's not a once in a lifetime number there. That's a one-time number. There's never, ever in history been that kind of shift in wealth. The internet wasn't even close to that big of a shift. And so I felt like I need to learn as much as I can about this Web3 technology, about blockchain. And as I met with the leaders in this blockchain community, I saw what they were doing. They had an agricultural blockchain, a healthcare blockchain, like amazing projects, but they were pretty heavy lifts. And they wanted me to help them. And I remember asking some of the leaders, I said, have you guys thought of a communications blockchain? And they said they thought of it, but they hadn't had anyone launch it yet. And so I said, listen, I can help you guys. It was December of 2023. I actually bought multiple millions of dollars, around $53 million worth of node software to help fund these projects. And it was so different than anything I'd ever seen in kind of traditional cryptocurrency with the ICOs. And I say kind of most of them are in idea phase. And unfortunately, they never come out of idea phase. And probably more unfortunately, many of them never plan on coming out of idea phase. Just a big ICO, a big pump and dump, and a few people make a bunch of money and everyone else loses. And these guys were the opposite. They were building the products and services first and then focusing on the blockchain. No ICO, no investors, a fair launch, similar to Bitcoin. And I love that concept. But I told them communications will be way easier to scale up. I'm not saying we won't be able to decentralize banking as a community or agriculture, but it's a pretty heavy lift. You have to work with the existing banks. You have to work with farmers if you're decentralizing agriculture. And it's not that easy to do. But I said, what about communications? And we start with a video conferencing platform. We really go on offense against a company like Zoom. And they said, sounds interesting. They asked kind of why I thought that might be a good target. And I just said, listen, you've got a company that hits, a 25 to $28 billion market cap in Zoom. They've got 300 million users a day that come across their platform, and they have almost zero loyalty. I remember I used Zoom at that time. Zoom was kind of my favorite. But if you called me and said, hey, I've got a real estate deal I want to share with you, or an oil well deal I want to share with you, and you sent me a link to Microsoft Teams, we would have been on a Microsoft Teams meeting. It didn't bother me. If you just sent me a Google Meet, we'd have been on Google Meet. I was on those platforms, join.me, GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting. I would use whatever. It didn't really matter to me. And I felt like there was an opportunity to build loyalty in an industry where none had previously existed. And so I felt like there were three areas that we could attack Zoom. One was price point. And I felt like they had continuously raised their prices. I know our accounting firm, we did big meetings on Zoom. We had 3 rooms, so we could have meetings at the same time, up to 1,000 people per meeting in each room. And I remember when we moved over to the RLink platform, which is what we're on right now, it cut our cost by over $3,000 a year. So just the savings alone, I was like, if this platform's anywhere near as good as Zoom from the savings standpoint, it's a no-brainer. The second area that we attack Zoom is on presentation. And really, I would add on conversion as well. This is built more as a conversion platform. And I'll share my screen real quick to show you guys a demo. That way, you can kind of see how simple it is to present inside our platform. And we have an area called Elements that basically, if I open up my Elements, I can start doing a demo. And if I want to go into like a website, if somebody says, I want to see your pricing, because we have kind of the regular pricing, the business pricing. Eventually, we'll launch a full free version as well. But we're still in beta. We've got a little over 1,000 users, so we've kind of limited our beta users as we're growing. But I can pull up a web page pop out, which any of you, if you're on a webinar with us, we can have 1,000 people in this room, and they are in control of their own screen. They can scroll at their own pace. If they go, wow, that business platform got, up to 1,000 attendees on webinar. It's got $50 a month. That's cheaper than my Zoom. They can check out. They can start buying right then and there. If somebody says, well, we do slideshows, like we like to present, through slideshows, you can go right into a slideshow here. Certainly I can share my screen and go through like a PowerPoint, but here I can just start going through pre-loaded slides. It's just as easy for me to present from my phone as it is from a computer. If I'm done with the slideshow, I can close it out. If somebody says, well, our slideshow, we have video, I can go right into video. Normally with Zoom, I could never do this. I would have to share my screen, change audio, wait, I just paused it so I can talk easy. I could wait 5 seconds for a YouTube ad to finish, and then we'd be watching the video. Here, I can pause it, obviously. I can rewind. I can fast forward. If I'm done with the video, I can stop the video and just close it out. And what's probably the best thing is we have our call to actions as well. So if somebody says, this platform's amazing, I want to buy it, I can pull up a buy now button. And that's a call to action where people can actually make a purchase inside the platform. Instead of going, hey, I'm going to put a link in the chat, scroll down. We've done split testing. You convert at about an 80% higher rate if you can convert and keep people inside your platform than sending them outside of your platform. So I'll just stop presenting here for a second, kind of go back to regular, but it's fully customizable. We're getting ready here in the next few weeks to launch our version 2, which has way more bells and whistles. It's a full-fledged webinar platform. You can do evergreen webinars. It's geared for video conferencing, obviously, but it's also geared up for live stream or podcasting, if that's something you're into and something you do. So it's kind of like a 3-in-1 studio, but the bells and whistles are even better. You can pull up a buy now button, attach your Stripe account or your merchant account, and then you're taking Visa, MasterCard, Discover, Amex right inside the platform. If you accept cryptocurrency, you can set up to accept crypto. If you do contracts, imagine sending me a contract while we're in a meeting together, and I can e-sign it right there in the meeting with you. You can e-sign your side, and boom, we get emailed an executed document that shows the full audit trail. Tony signed from this IP address in Dorado Beach, Puerto Rico at this time, this minute, this second, and you signed it at this IP address at this time, this minute, this second. Full audit trail included. That's what we're getting ready to launch, which is next level. So we're beating Zoom on price, beating them on presentation and conversion. But the third area we hit them is we're blockchain based. There's no owners here. It's fully decentralized. The users own the platform. And what's more important about that is the users own and control their data. A lot of people don't realize, but Zoom, they got caught back in March through August of 2023. They were sharing everyone's data with their AI. And people got upset, but what were you going to do about it? You could go to Google Meet, you could go to Microsoft Teams. Those guys are better at mining data than Zoom is. So there was no real safe haven to run to. And that's really what RLink allows for. And with our version 2, we're going to allow a full white label version as well. So like my accounting firm, Jorns and Associates, it won't say rally.r-link.com/Tony. The room name there will be rally.jornstax.com/Tony. And instead of that RLink logo there at the top left, it'll be the Jorns Tax logo. The color scheme, which I kind of like this color scheme, but we'll change it. It'll be the Jorns and Associates website color scheme. So I can keep my clients inside of our branding, which if I have a choice as an entrepreneur to keep a client inside our branding, I'm always going to choose to do that instead of sending them to a Zoom or sending them to a Google Meet or even sending them into an RLink. I'd much rather send them to my own video conferencing platform. The other thing that's cool, I'll share screen one more time. We have full translation. So as I'm talking, we can have closed captioning. So you can kind of see the box. I can move it around. It's up here, and it's just everything I'm saying. It's saying it, and the AI captions. You can change the languages. You can go from Arabic to Chinese to Estonian to I'm in Puerto Rico, so I can put Spanish in there, and now it's all in Spanish, which is cool. I've done meetings where we had a guy in Brazil speaking pretty fast Portuguese, a guy in Ecuador speaking Spanish. I was speaking English, and we had a 45-minute business meeting with no translators. I could read the questions as they were asking and answering, and then I would follow up with an answer if they needed one, ask a question. They were seeing my questions in Portuguese and Spanish, respectively. We're getting ready. The version 2, it's probably going to be 5 months to 12 months out. We're getting close. We're testing on it, but imagine verbal translation to where if you chose Chinese, you would be hearing my voice speaking perfect Chinese and my lips matching up. And then if your friend chose German at the same exact time, he would be hearing German and my lips matching up. That's coming in our version 2. We're getting ready to launch our AI note-taking and summarization. Nothing too special about that. It's like an Otter or a Fathom if you've ever used those platforms. But on top, so we have our business package for $50 a month. For an additional $50 a month, you can change to where instead of just the AI note-taking and summarization, you can have an additional AI digital assistant. And your AI assistant can handle all of your follow-up, your calendar, your messaging. Imagine you do a big meeting, you're selling, peptides, you're in health and wellness, you're selling real estate. If you're in real estate, doesn't matter. Fully customizable platform, fully branded for your company. So let's say you're health and wellness selling peptides. What's cool if you said, hey, I'm going to put a buy now button up. Anyone that wants to buy, just click the buy now and pulls up their credit card. The other thing, if you're an affiliate program or a networking program, if I invited people onto your meeting and it was a big corporate meeting with thousands of people on it, and one of my friends clicked buy now, it would route them through me. If someone else's friend clicked on it, it would route through them because we can track that through our affiliate tracker. And so version 2, it's literally going to be easy to track every new person that comes in as a buyer and where that buyer came from. But the digital assistant, imagine we close that meeting out and the digital assistant comes on and says, hey, Mary, looks like you had a great meeting. There was around 1,000 people on there. You had 127 people buy. You generated $28,972 in initial revenue. But then the back end revenue when the peptides deliver, you've generated another $387,000 in revenue. So it gives you full analytics. It'll tell you, I was watching everyone on out of the 1,000 people. There were a lot that were interested. Here's the 100 people that you should probably follow up with first. I went ahead and already sent them emails. I've set up some follow-up meetings for next week. Out of the 100 people that were most interested, some of them were already buying, some of them were clicking the buy button but didn't finish and didn't follow through. I've got 73 of them have already accepted that invite, so I went ahead and set that meeting. It looks like you're running a little behind today. You have a 3 o'clock this afternoon, but it didn't look like you'd make it on time, so I actually messaged Brian and moved it to 3:30 because your schedule opens up a little later this afternoon. So instead of 3 o'clock, he's already accepted the 3:30, so that'll be your next meeting. During your overview, you had 17 messages come in across 5 different platforms, from your emails, your text message, your WhatsApp. You got direct messages on your Instagram and your LinkedIn. I went ahead and responded to 15 of the 17. Here's a summary link if you want to check that out. But there's 2 messages I felt like you should see. One's in your email, one's in your WhatsApp. Here's links to those so you can respond accordingly. And then I'll update your calendar as needed. For an extra $50 a month, you've got a digital assistant that will literally make your life way more efficient when it comes to your communications and your calendar and your follow-up. We're also going to white label that product as well. It'll be available as a standalone. Not everybody does video conferencing, but about everybody checks emails and text messages throughout the day. About everybody has a calendar where they set up appointments and meetings, especially entrepreneurs. And so being able to have this standalone, fully white label, imagine your company having its own white label digital assistant that's branded your branding. And you can go to market and share that with others. And you can make a profit off of that as well. So that's the beauty of what we're doing. We're making it easy, where my mom can use her credit card to pay for the $15 a month platform. Our community will grab that $15 and put it right into the market. That's the best thing our community does. We drive revenue through the blockchain. 100% of our revenue, when we come out of beta, 100% of our revenue that we generate goes right into our token. It'd almost be like if Jeff Bezos said, when you check out on Amazon, you have to buy Amazon stock. Now, they don't do that. I don't know if they could do that. But if they did do that, Amazon stock price would skyrocket. There's not enough people willing to sell at the current price to fulfill that kind of buy-side pressure. Now, they can't do that in a Web 2 environment. That is exactly what we're able to do in a Web 3, in a blockchain-based environment. You have ownership of your data. You can monetize that data. You're able to actually generate revenue that goes in to create buy-side pressure on a token. It starts to become objective value instead of subjective value. The more revenue we do, the more buy-side pressure there is. And I can't guarantee anything about what the price will be at. I know Gala hit like 87 cents. I think we're trading as low as like 0.002 cents, but it's actually started to move up quite a bit. There's some big liquidity pools at like 2 or 3 cents right now on the token, but our focus has nothing to do with the token. Our goal is to build another multi-billion-dollar company. And just if that revenue drives through a token, the token takes care of itself. I've done really well in crypto. A lot of our companies have done extremely well, but I've never been able to move the needle. I've never been able to swing the pendulum. I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not that important. Most of you are like, I've never heard of you before, which is probably right. But at the end of the day, Elon Musk can tweet about Dogecoin and it's going to go up the next day. Like maybe the next minute after he's done tweeting. I'm not that important. I can't do that. But I knew with my background and my network, I could probably add 1 million users onto a platform like this. I could probably add 1 million users to a platform like the digital assistant, because who wouldn't want to make their life much, much more efficient? We actually bought the code to a project called Pixa, which if this is the Zoom killer, what I would call Pixa is like the TikTok killer. And it's geared for like the TikTok shop where you can sell things, you know, go on vacation, do social selling, anything you're doing. And if I want to buy something that's coming through on here, maybe hair care products or something, maybe she's doing hair care, not that I know what that's about, but I can purchase anything that comes up. And if I go, okay, I want to buy, you know, this motorcycle and it's $5,000, I can put it on a credit card. I can send a bank wire. Our community, our banking blockchain, our trading blockchain will take that 5,000 fiat dollar and turn it into the Rally token. Then the seller has a choice. It's fully automated. They can say, I don't want some crap token, just give me my dollars. It'll immediately trade it back into dollars before it ever hits their balance sheet. They're just getting $5,000. But if they go, man, this project's pretty cool, maybe give me $50, half of those tokens. It'll send her $2,500 and $2,500 worth of Rally token. And if she says, this is a really amazing project, just give me all token, it would send her all the tokens, however much $5,000 worth of tokens was at that time through the market. And so we're looking to create a massive community that wants to own and control their data and that wants to eventually be able to monetize their data and share a project with others. I can earn cryptocurrency just for using this platform. My mom's earning it. It's digital rewards. It's almost like Amex points to her or airline miles, but she can use those rewards to pay for her platform. Zoom is never going to let her have a free platform. If she doesn't want it to shut off after 40 some minutes, which she doesn't, she has a paid version, used to, I guess she's got this now, but she had to pay for it. And there was no pathway for her to get it for free. What's even cooler, if she refers other people to the platform, she gets more rewards. And so there's a huge opportunity. And I always tell people, listen, I think humans as society have kind of conceded to the fact that Mark Zuckerberg has been listening to me this whole time. Jeff Bezos has been listening. Sergey Brin and Larry Page over at Google have been listening. And that's just life. And they're building trillion-dollar companies off of all of our data. Blockchain technology will allow each and every one of us to shift that power from huge corporations to individuals. And we're at the forefront. We're not perfect. There's a lot of wood to chop, but that's what's beautiful. We're looking for people to help us. There's really 3 ways you can get involved in this project. Number 1, if you're big into crypto and you understand crypto, go on to Uniswap V4 and see if you can pick up some Rally tokens. They're probably pretty cheap right now. There's not a lot of liquidity. They're hard to buy. You maybe can buy like $50 at a time, maybe a couple $100 at a time. But if you can, and you like what you see, you like our project, grab some tokens. The other thing you can do is you can purchase nodes. You can run the software that runs the blockchain. Now, most people don't host it on their computers, which you could. It would cost about the same as it costs to run a light bulb for a month if you ran a node on your actual computer. Most of us host in the cloud. There's companies that specialize in node hosting and software hosting. Certainly you can do it on Amazon web hosting. You could host our nodes on Google servers. It would be probably pretty expensive, but the specialty companies, I've seen them, a few bucks a month, $4 or $5 a month to host your node software in the cloud. And as long as your node is turned on 6 hours or more a day, you're generating tokens. Generates about 1,500 tokens a day. There's an NFT that the community sells. It actually will boost that. It'll double that output for 6 months. So it can generate about 3,000 tokens every day. Now, nodes are not cheap. I think they run closing in on $8,000 each right now. If you added a boost on, it's in the 9,000 to 10,000 range. So definitely not for the masses, but there are people that participate. In the United States, I always tell people, talk with your own tax people, your accountants. The node software is classified as off-the-shelf software. And so you chat with them about, what's called a Section 179 or bonus depreciation. There may be some tax advantages that you can utilize, which I did in 2023 before I had moved to Puerto Rico. I was in Kansas for most of the year, and so there were some tax advantages for buying nodes back then. The big beautiful bill actually made them a little bit better, actually quite a bit better now than they were back in 2023. But I always say get with your own accounting team and chat with them about that. The third way to be involved is probably the most important way, though, and it's free. You can sign up and be a community member for free. That's really what we're interested in: people that can help us build the community. If you're sitting there going, "Well, I use Zoom," do you get rewards for it? Do you get paid for it? Do you own and control all your own data? If the answer is no to those, you should try RLink. And eventually, maybe if you have a company, a small business, medium-sized business, maybe you got a large business, maybe you should have your own platform for your company, fully branded. And if you know other people that may be interested in that, you share it with others and help us build our community. That's a great way to really get involved in blockchain and to start helping a community take the firepower back away from these huge corporations and put our data ownership and most importantly, the monetization of our data in our own hands. So I appreciate you guys sharing a little bit of time with me. If nothing else, to learn a little bit more about who we are and what we're doing. For those of you that like what you see, I would tell you to get involved. Whoever sent you the link to this webinar can send you a link to sign up for free in our ecosystem. Start learning more about what we're doing. Use the platform. If you like the platform, hey, buy some tokens on the open market if you want. Buy some nodes if you want. At the end of the day, I felt like as an entrepreneur, the more of us that come together, the better the odds are that we can disrupt an industry like Zoom, a social selling industry like TikTok Shop. We can disrupt an AI industry where instead of our data going to ChatGPT and Sam Altman and Bill Gates, or going to Elon Musk at Grok, or going to Gemini and Google with Sergey Brin and Larry Page, our AI, the digital assistant, is able to host locally. You can host it on your own computer. You can host it in the cloud. You own and control your data. It's not going to Sam Altman. It's not going to Bill Gates. And I felt like if we asked the 5.5 billion people that are online all over the world, you can continue the way things are. You can continue to let Mark Zuckerberg and Google and all these huge companies, Sam Altman, own and control all your data, make trillions of dollars in revenue off of your data, or you can own and control your data. I felt like every single one of them would choose to own and control their data and be able to monetize their data. And if you make that same decision that I believe they would, I want to be one of the first people to welcome you to the Rally Blockchain family. Have a great night. God bless. Hopefully I get a chance to meet you soon at one of our big events.